All right, welcome back, everybody. So here we are, week number 3. If you're wondering why this is late, hopefully this actually gets out. I made the video for this week a couple of days ago. Tried to upload it, and YouTube will not let me make it public. Haven't really gotten reason why. They gave me a general this. It could be this or that or that. I don't know what it could possibly be. I don't think I violated any terms of services or anything. But long story short, extremely frustrating. Last couple of days and weeks, I had a lot of technical issues with week 2 as well. But we're moving past that. Hopefully, this one gets out okay. This is after day number 1. So as you can see in the the deleted video that's never coming out, I made my picks for this week. So instead of doing the regular, I'm going to talk about the games today because I watched at least parts of all of them. So we're going to talk about what kind of happened, and then we'll briefly go over the picks that I made. As you can see, they're all already locked in. I won't change them. I feel like that would ruin the spirit of it. But in any case, here we go. East region, week number 3. The East is finally in action. And we opened up with the defending champs, Shanghai Dragons, facing off against Philly. And Philly 3-0'd them, as you can see. I had Shanghai 3-0'ing, and it went the opposite way. So pretty surprising. We didn't even really see Carpe, really, but Philly they just straight up popped off. I'm gonna be honest; they looked really, really good. And there isn't too much to say about it. Shanghai came out flat. We've seen this a couple of times with them, where they would open a stage pretty flat. So, my level of worry isn't high. If they look really bad again tomorrow, then maybe some check engine lights are gonna come on, and we're gonna see, well, is there something actually wrong with this roster? We can kind of dive into it a bit more. But maybe they were just coming in, thinking that they had it. This is gonna be easy, etc., etc. Maybe they haven't fully adjusted to the OW2 yet. But I think they'll be fine. I think more so than anything, for Philly fans, this is a great sign. I had them as a middle of the pack team, but they keep playing like this, and they could really make some noise in the East. The Charge took down Valiant 3-1. I got that one right on, so that's pretty nice. Pretty much what we expected to see here. It's going to be more telling, with the Charge for me tomorrow to see how they do against the Hunters. And then we had a second upset in the Spark taking down Dynasty 3-1. We saw some different comps come out from the Spark as well. On a certain Unwell on Elios, they busted out the Diva and 100 Ode Soul. Also on the entire control map, we saw some Genji. We saw Echo. We saw a lot of different stuff. We saw Shy on his pick, his main pick, Ashe, and we've seen Ashe from a few teams, like Kings Row defenses, Dorado defenses. A couple of teams will bring her out. It hasn't really gone well for teams, except for Shy. Shy, I'm gonna say it. I think he's the best. I think I said this last season. I think he's the best Ashe in the world. I mean, the stuff that he does, like the way that he consistently flicks, gets value out of every single dynamite. He has his bob, seems like every 40 seconds. Obviously it isn't actually that, but he generates them so fast, and he just does a lot of things well. Ashe's, even with her shotgun blast, she's pretty diveable. But Hot Shy's, he can get away from the tanks, and he could just straight up outduel the DPS. So we're gonna see what happens with that, moving forward. But the Spark looked really good. A little disappointing from Soul, but again, I for me it was a little more good Spark, particularly the last few maps, than like bad Soul. So then for the rest of the week, I've got the Hunters taking down Charge. Hunters should be very good as they were last season. I got Shanghai bouncing back and taking down the Spark 3-1, even though if I was changing, maybe I think about that one. And then I got Seoul also rebounding and taking down the Valiant. On our double points for the East for this week, I've got Fusion taking down the Charge 3-1. I'm feeling pretty good about that pick right about now. I had Seoul taking down Hunters in a close one. Still think that one will be entertaining. And then I had Spark edging out Valiant, which that one might not end up being that close. But like I said, I'm not switching any of them up. But yeah, after seeing 6 of the teams from the East in action, I think we may have a much more competitive East than we first thought. I really thought that it was going to be Shanghai and Seoul kind of running away with it, and then the others kind of like fighting over that middle spot, in the Spark and the Charge and even like the Hunters. But I think that we're gonna, just like the West, we're gonna have a pretty competitive region over there. And then moving on to the West, we had a good, as you can see, we had a good day of predictions over here. We nailed the Justice versus Eternal score. Eternal looked pretty good. Honestly, and some people are like, oh, they're just saying that, you don't want to shit on the teams too bad. But no, in all seriousness, Paris looked a lot better than their last time out against New York. Having Don in there, I think, was an improvement. Going more Winston focused rather than Vestola on the Zarya. But Washington, they're a good team. We just, at this point, Washington, our team was like, yep, they're gonna beat a decent amount of teams, but we need to see them have a good showing or beat a very good team, because the best team that they've played so far is Dallas, and Dallas spawn camped them for a couple of maps and beat them 3-0 easily. So, Justice looking good, but again, we need to see it against a top tier team. Speaking of Dallas, we're going to jump over to them real quick. And speaking of spawn camping, Toronto pretty much got rolled. It was pretty painful to watch. I thought this would be more competitive. Thought Dallas would win, as you can see. But thought it'd be a bit more competitive because Toronto looked pretty solid last week out, but not how it went down. Dallas looking pretty good. They look like the best team when it comes to the Reaper, the Reaper and the Zarya. Having Hanbin in there, instead of Fearless, as that is his normal pick. But we've seen him play Winston a couple of maps, last week, and be good on that too. Even though Hanbin isn't a natural Winston player, so Dallas looking really strong. I think we're gonna see which is better, as we get to the kickoff clash itself. We saw them beat Gladiators in a reverse sweep last week. But the same thing like against Shock, against some of the other good teams, Atlanta, in the region. Is this comp going to be good? Is this comp going to be effective? Its survivability is great. Its death ball is great. But is the Tracer Soldier Winston variant that Toronto was using, if it's used to a higher level than Toronto used, I didn't think Toronto was terrible, but they didn't play as high to a level as I think some of the other teams in the region can. Which style is going to win? I honestly don't know. We're going to find out once they play those teams. But Dallas looking really good. Locking themselves in at 3-1 for the moment. And they have obviously a very winnable match against Paris coming up on Sunday. And then Florida, I had New York doing a little better, but Florida pretty much, I thought they'd win. They won even more convincingly than I thought. New York, they made the third map competitive. The first two were not. It was really all Florida. Surmajed, he's been amazing on the Ana. I think he's a standout. But someone's also been great on the Winston. The DPS line as well. Checkmate, Tracer play has been great. Genji's solid as well when he's been on it. So, this is a good Florida team, a team that I definitely underestimated coming into the season. But I think that they've kind of shown that, hey, we're here to play. They haven't beaten an amazing team yet, so that's going to be the next step. Having them take down a Houston, a Gladiators, a Shock, Dallas, one of those teams. Once they could get they get a win or two like that, then I think they're going to really show that they're up there. But I do think that they're one of the best teams in the West as we stand. So then quickly going over the next couple of days, I've got Houston taking down Spitfire 3-1. Spitfire on a couple match win streak, but they've beaten, some of the definitely the weaker teams in the West. So I think Houston will take that one down and get their third win. I got Shock taking down Gladiators in a very competitive match. This is my match of the week for sure. Two of the best teams in the West duking it out. I didn't like what I saw from Gladiators getting reverse swept. It felt like a case of you're the better team, but you just don't perform like it, and the other team just outclutches you. So I'm gonna trust the clutch factor, the coaching factor of the Shock in that one. I got Toronto taking down Boston pretty easily. Boston, it looked pretty weak in week 2. I thought they looked decent, in week 1, but they look pretty rough. Toronto's going to want to bounce back from a tough match against Dallas. Obviously Boston not nearly on the same level as Dallas, so I think Toronto bounces back in a pretty big way. I got the Reign sweeping off the Vancouver Titans. Despite having a sick DPS line, the Titans they still can't put it together. Hopefully they'll be able to going forward, but it hasn't come together yet. And against a strong Atlanta team, I just don't see it happening. Dallas versus Paris, again, I don't see this one being close at all. We're definitely seeing these levels be established in the West. Paris has yet to win a match. They're at 0-4. Dallas, probably the best team. It's them or the Shock. You could make an argument either way. Obviously Shock are undefeated, but I think Dallas has, more convincing victories, and a little bit higher quality victories. But they're one of the best teams. I think that they get the job done there. And then Boston Uprising versus Washington Justice. This was my upset special of the week. Really, Washington, I think, should win this matchup, and I think they probably will. But I did go out on a limb, as I explained in the rest in peace other video. Boston, maybe they'll come out with some different strategies. Have something figured out after a rough last week and bounce back. Washington maybe have a little bit of a rough one coming off of a nice victory in a previous day. So yeah, those are my picks for the rest of the week. We're doing okay. We got 12 points between the two through a day. So it's decent. We did good in the West. Almost max. Could have gotten 2 more there and 1 more there. The East was pretty rough as we had a couple upsets, but they were fun matches today. Hopefully we get great matches the rest of the weekend. As you can see, I have a decent amount of 3-0s, especially in the West. So hopefully I'm proven wrong on some of those and we get some tight finishes. But in any case, let me know what you think down in the comments below. What did you think of the teams from the East coming out and playing? Thoughts, big surprises, standout players, anything like that. Let me know what you think about the rest of the week. Any teams that are gonna really stand out or kind of fall down a bit. Curious to know what you think. But as always, thank you very much for watching. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of the weekend. And hopefully, tech and site permitting, I will see you in the next one.